Good evening, everyone. I want to talk today about a couple of articles that was put out, one by the LBC and one by the Independent. And I also want to talk a little bit more about the Greek variant of Poison XIX. So first off, what I will say, as I brush my moustache, that I'm starting to grow. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link in the description below both of the articles that I'm going to be speaking about, so that you guys can get a perspective of what I'm trying to say yourself. Obviously, don't just take my word for it. Read the stuff for yourself and come to your own conclusions, as I've always tried to say. Now, unfortunately, I can't read the article from The Independent unless I can log in somehow, which I'll try. Please bear with me. Actually, turns out I do have an account on here. Anyway, let's discuss this article, which is written by Donna Chad McCarthy. I guess it's a silent H at the end, but I'll digress. Anyway, remember the names of the 9 jailed Insulate Britain protesters. They are all heroes. Last time I checked, the definition of a hero is someone who's shown courage, bravery, outstanding service, and have a noble cause. Last time I checked, Insulate Britain were breaking the law by blocking the M25, Wandsworth Bridge, probably a load of other places as well, walking into oncoming traffic. Which, okay, in their defense, walking in front of oncoming traffic does take a big set of fucking balls, as well as a shitload of stupidity. Let's not forget that bit. Let's be clear. But for him to say that these guys are heroes, he's implying that Insulate Britain are doing a noble cause, that they are doing an outstanding service. Well, the only thing they're doing that's out fucking standing is pissing off the British public, so I guess you could count that. Actually, no, you couldn't. In a more serious note. And last time I checked as well, these guys, other than the fact that they're showing brazen stupidity, haven't shown a lot of courage. In fact, when they were inked, I think some of the poor saps who were elderly were actually quite afraid. Of course, they tried to play the victim card, though, because who wouldn't in that situation? If their cause doesn't seem just, they have to be seen to be playing the victim, because otherwise they'll lose what little credibility they have left, if they had any to begin with. But I digress. We'll read the article now. He was wrong. An Insulate Britain climate protector told the High Court last week at his sentencing with the Insulate Britain 9 for breaking an injunction that if she jailed them, another 10 protesters would take each of their places, and if they arrested them, 100 would in turn take their places until such time as the state acted to protect us from climate catastrophe. Well, let me be clear on this, spokesperson, or climate protector, whatever you want to call yourself. I would personally call you just a dickhead, bluntly speaking, but that's just me and my humble opinion, which is subjective. You don't actually have the right to threaten court that you'll have more people take their place when it involves criminal activity. Now, if the protest involved not breaking the law and was actually genuinely peaceful and not obstructive, intrusive, obnoxious, etc., you might actually have a leg to stand on. But Insulate Britain has already committed crimes, and while they have been charged with breaking an injunction, contempt of court basically, they should have been charged with 3 charges, not 1, or 1 if you want to put it that way, where they have broken multiple counts of the Highway Code Act 1989. But hey-ho, whatever fits the narrative, right? Anyway, 4 days later, 124 climate protesters were arrested for breaking the same injunction by sitting on Lambeth Bridge and Vauxhall Cross. So it was 13, not 10, new arrestees for each of the imprisoned Insulate Britain 9. They were protesting the imprisonment injunction forbidding protests on all major roads across Britain, as they shouldn't be fucking blocking the roads and everything. Seems to me that the only climate promise the UK government has faithfully kept in the promise to crack down hard on the climate protests. Oh yeah, sorry, I read that wrong. The only climate promise the UK government has faithfully kept is their promise to crack down hard on climate protests. Well, as they should, if they're breaking the fucking law, Mr. McCarthy. I've already forgotten your fucking name because I'm getting that pissed off with your movement and all your pandering to insulate Britain wankers. Insulate terrorists, I should point out. But I digress. The authoritarian police and crime bill demanded by Cressida Dick of the head of the Metropolitan Police to punitively punish a swathe of peaceful direct actions was delayed following the outcry over heavy-handed policing over the Sarah Everard vigil. From what I can tell, the bill de facto equates peaceful direct actions with many terrorist offences, with draconian 10-year penalties for the new Orwellian crime of being seriously annoying. The definition of seriously annoying is defined by Priti Patel, not Parliament. Instead of tempering the bill following the Sarah Everard outrage, the government has doubled down. Last week, it added punitive measures to the bill, including making it a criminal offence to possess superglue with intent, to glue oneself in a way that causes impact to more than one person. This incurs a year's imprisonment. I agree with this, that they should be imprisoned, because they're obstructing people again. What they are doing is causing a major disruption. Insulate Britain blocked the roads, and some of them glued their hands on a police van, which is actually criminal damage, I'll add, and they were also gluing their hands to the road. Oh, and I'm actually metaphorically gluing my hand to the other one as well. Anyway, more chillingly, there is a new offence of using the internet to inform people about or help to organise a peaceful, disruptive action. Of course it's fucking illegal to organise a disruptive action when you're literally blocking the roads. I can't emphasise this enough. Like, it's like banging my head against a brick wall or my fucking desk. You cannot block the roads. It goes against the Highway Code Act, let alone the injunctions that have been imposed against them. Oh, God, it makes my blood boil sometimes. Anywho, if using it as an organised or peaceful disruptive action, if the person has been guilty of participating in two such previous actions. Criminalising climate protectors from informing people or organising future peaceful direct actions is what you would expect in Putin's Russia or communist China, not in a supposed liberal democracy. That's funny coming from you left-wing wankers. Especially considering a lot of left-wing wankers from Hope Not Hate actively go out of their way to maliciously target people who are so-called far-right to try and make them lose their jobs just because they have a political view. Pot kettle black springs to mind. And on top of that, Insulate Britain, as I said, what you're doing is you're basically encouraging people to break the law. You are encouraging terrorism by causing major disruptions in the United Kingdom. You are blocking important supplies. You are stopping people from getting to hospital. Just blocking emergency services alone is a criminal act. You are stopping people from doing school runs. You are stopping people from living their day-to-day lives. So I believe these people in the government and the police, I may lambast the shit out of them, but you know what? I will defend them on this point. They have every fucking right to lock you bastards up, because it's what you deserve. You are eco-nutjobs. You are crusties. You are Tarquins, as the people keep pointing out. You are all crooked people, and if it were down to me, you'd be under much worse sentencing. But of course it's not down to me, luckily for you. Anyway, moving on from that, the demonisation of the peaceful Insulate Britain protesters. No, you're not peaceful. You may be peaceful with your intentions, but your actions speak otherwise, as being disruptive and intrusive. of the insulate by sections of the media has been shocking. For weeks there have been headlines screaming that. Yep, already done. The Insulate Nine, as we know about, are Roman Pollock, Emma Smart, James Thomas, Ben Buse, Oliver Rock, Lewis Mackenzie, Tim Spears, Anna Haytawin, and Ben Taylor. All of which should be serving much harsher sentences and also be getting some pretty severe fines. From the hysteria, you would swear all 11,000 of London's junctions were being blocked on a daily basis, instead of just one or two. The M25 protests did affect more drivers, but the M25, as one of the busiest fossil-fueled motorways, is a legitimate climate target, being a toxic weapon of mass climate destruction. Why don't you go and attack the places that actually have like coal-fueled plants and what have you, things that actually massively contribute to climate change rather than just block the roads? What you're doing is completely impractical. The media piled on and egged on some pretty ugly scenes, with peaceful protesters being physically attacked by irate drivers, as they shouldn't be. But I understand why these drivers have done so, because they're quite rightly pissed off. They are sick and tired of these insulate Britain wankers stopping them from disrupting their lives. Their calm peacefulness in the face of these attacks was humbling, with tabloids baying for action. The government and the Mayor of London bypassed existing laws on highway blocking and got a High Court injunction banning insulate Britain protests on all major roads. As I said, these wankers are actually breaking the Highway Code Act. They are breaking it in more than one way. They're not supposed to be on the road anyway, full stop. And secondly, they were blocking emergency services, which, as I said, in and of itself is a crime in and of itself. Furthermore, if a person ends up dying because of their delays to an ambulance, for example, because somebody, I don't know, got shanked or they're seriously ill or whatever, that's technically manslaughter. Let that sink into your head, Mr. McCarthy. Contempt of court is a punitive tool used by governments by which they can threaten or imprisonment and unlimited fines, bypassing the Magna Carta right to a jury trial. How cute that you think the Magna Carta should be used for blocking the road. Especially when there's actual evidence of police actually seeing you block the roads. There's evidence of normal people seeing you block the roads. So there's no reason whatsoever that you deserve a jury, quite frankly. If it was murder, I could possibly understand. But not this. So stop with the bullshit. In my view, or in McCarthy's view, Sadiq Khan and Grant Shap's use of contempt of court to try shut down peaceful protests is redolent of the worst protest suppression in Russia or Hong Kong. No, it's not. It's nowhere near on that level, so, bluntly speaking, shut the fuck up, McCarthy. Young people around the world are in despair and grief after the disastrous failure of COP26, which instead of agreeing to the 45% emission cuts needed, submitted plans are predicted to a rise of 16%. The desperation is leading more protesters to take direct actions to save humanity from civilizational collapse. Believe you me, it's not insulate Britain or climate change or whatever that we need to worry about. The response all over the industrialized world, however, increasingly involves governments imposing punitive prison sentences on protectors. No, they're terrorists. In poorer countries, meanwhile, they are often literally being killed by those seeking to exploit fossil fuel reserves in the remaining rainforests. If that truly is the case, I do feel sorry for the poor people. But other than that, my stance still stands on the people in Britain who are disrupting the UK. They have no legal leg to stand on. And I'm actually looking at the comments right now as I've scrolled down to the bottom. And already we see people saying, to the headline, no, drip by drip we are having our rights and freedoms taken away. However, he is right about that. People are being locked up fighting for democracy. This is not democracy. A bunch of religious nutters. I wouldn't know about religious, but they are nutters, I'll tell you that much. But it causes the house to overheat. A lot of this stuff, from what I'm seeing, the causes are relevant, they deliberately and in full knowledge of the consequences broke the law. D. Bleckensop has actually nailed this on the head. They have knowingly broken the law, and they're expecting pity from the British people. The only thing I'd expect to give them at this point is my absolute contempt for their actions. It's beyond me. And Steve Hill, I will not remember them, I do not care for them or their methods, they inflict ridiculous inconvenience on the general public, illegally, in a manner totally disproportionate to their objectives. They are criminals, I don't much care whether they see the light of day again. There are far better ways to address climate change than by being useful, by being useful idiots for revolutionary Marxists who preach the need to end democracy. He's hit it on the fucking head right there and then. And the fact that this man, McCarthy, Donahad McCarthy, thinks that these 9 are heroes is outright delusional. It is completely insulting. It is a fucking insult to all the real heroes of Britain. You know, the people that some of them are still walking the streets, the people who fought in the wars. He insults all of those people and all the real heroes, like David Perry when he saved hundreds of people from potentially being blown up by that Muslim terrorist. He is a hero, not these 9 wankers, one of which, Oliver Rock, still has that fundraiser up, which he doesn't deserve a fucking penny, bluntly speaking, because he is a terrorist, and crowdfunder have already blocked a crowdfunder of over £60,000 towards Insulate Britain because they were suspicious that Insulate Britain was committing criminal activities. And on that reason alone, Oliver Rock has no credibility to have this crowdfunder up. He has no legitimacy with this crowdfunder to pay for his rent after he committed a crime and now he can't do the time and he can't handle it. And now his rich fucking family wants the British people to pay for it. The wankers, even though one of them even owned a coffee business. And they want us to pay for it. And he wants to say, these guys are heroes. How dare you, Mr. McCarthy? How dare you? You have no right to call these guys a hero. Or heroes, full stop. They are terrorists, full fucking stop. Whew. I've never blown my lid like that before in a while. But this is how I feel, in all seriousness. This is how I look at idiots like Donachad McCarthy. And obviously me calling him an idiot is merely subjective opinion. But the fact still stands that those 9 are not heroes. They are terrorists, and if it were me, they'd be getting much harsher punishments. As said, that will be in the description below. Now we'll move on to the LBC article, which was Truss actually saying Insulate Britain are not heroes and give environmentalism a bad name, which was it was the Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, has hit out at Insulate Britain and Extinction Rebellion, claiming the disruptive protesters are not the heroes of environmentalism, but instead give the movement a bad name. The recently appointed Foreign Secretary was quizzed on LBC after Greta Thunberg said it was acceptable to hack people off during eco-protests as long as no one gets hurt. So she thinks it's okay, Greta Thunberg, to piss off ordinary people who want to get on with their lives. I think this girl needs to go back to school, quite frankly. Or is it her parents have misguided her and are using her and taking advantage of her for political clout? I'll leave that for you to decide. Anyway, I don't agree with Greta Thunberg at all about that, the minister told Nick on Monday. The fact is these people like Extinction Rebellion and Insulate Britain, who disrupt people going to work, who disrupt our lives, are not the heroes of the environmental movement. It's actually the people who work in places like Derbyshire developing small modular nuclear reactors to help clean energy. It's these people who we should be supporting, and I deprecate those who try and stop other people going to work who disrupt everyday life in Britain. They are not helping, they are just giving environmentalism a bad name. In recent weeks, activists have caused misery for drivers during rush hour as they block the M25, the entrance to the Port of Dover, and a number of other key routes, if I can get the words out. Protesters have glued themselves to the road in order to stop traffic and have clashed with furious drivers as they call on the government to take action and insulate Britain's homes. Last week, the government took out a nationwide injunction against protesters, which means those who breach the ban will be in contempt of court and at risk of imprisonment and or an unlimited fine. I personally would just charge them under the Highway Code Act, but that's just me. However, protesters have returned to the roads in breach of the injunctions have taken out against them. The discussion about the two protest groups comes ahead of the COP26 summit, where world leaders will come together to discuss their actions to address the climate crisis. Mrs. Truss, who is also the Minister of Women and Equality, said the summit should see more commitments from countries to reduce their carbon emissions by 2030. We should see more financial commitments about how we are going to help the reforestation across the world where forests have been chopped down. We are going to see more commitments to see how we can help smaller countries adapt to climate change and put in necessary measures. The Prime Minister and David Attenborough will be among those delivering speeches at COP26 opening ceremony this afternoon. I believe this was... this was actually the 1st of November. Well, why... No. But the other one was 2 days ago. Well, fuck me. I'm surprised. I guess I didn't need to read the LBC one. Had I have known it was a month ago, I probably wouldn't have read it. But hey-ho, it is what it is. But yeah, I've already made my points pretty clear about what I think of this article from The Independent. They really are a bunch of sheeple if they think that this is... It goes beyond me. It really does. And what's funny is, in all this, now we're going on to the Poison XIX here, with the Greek variant, and you know exactly which one I mean. There was the call for the face nappies. Now, I had originally made a video in the park, like I normally do. However, I'm glad I didn't upload it, because it turns out today I got asked for the first time, have I got a face nappy? Yes, here's my face nappy. Basically. I simply told the driver I'm exempt, because that's all you need to do with this. They don't need to know whether or not you're exempt, but the bottom line is, they cannot challenge you if you say you're exempt, because that will come under medical discrimination under the Equality Act 2010. And I'll be frank, I have problems breathing in those bloody things as is. I'm not exactly a small bloke. Let's face that fact. That's the only time I will say that that is a fact 100%. But anyway, all you have to do is say that, and they can't actually make you wear a face nappy, and they can't ask you to provide evidence that you are exempt, because they would be breaking that act. But the Omicron virus, the Omicron variant of Poison XIX, I've said it now, I might as well just go on. The doctors themselves have said that this variant is mild with its symptoms, and it's highly infective. Apparently it's supposed to be more infective than the other variants of Poison XIX. I'm not sure if this video is now going to get removed on the back of the fact that I've mentioned the O word, but hey-ho, it is what it is. I'm trying to call it the Greek variant to avoid the shit from YouTube and its censor bots, because as we all know, YouTube loves to censor content that doesn't go that doesn't go in favour of the poison XIX narrative or the shots of the antidote narrative. But I digress. The African doctors have categorically said mild symptoms, but highly infectious, highly contagious. And I guess I can understand the government's thinking to some degree of why they want us to wear face nappies, and that they would fine us 200 quid if we didn't wear one the first time, and then it would double up to £6,400 for not wearing one on, what is it, the 7th or 8th time? Oh, it's actually the 6th time. Oh, I got it wrong. So much for being good at maths. Anyway, they have put those things in place, not so much for our quote-unquote protection, but instead, they are doing this for two reasons. One, conformity, to keep controlling us. And two, is if they actually enforce the £200 fines, they'll then use that to fuel whatever nefarious deeds they have planned. That bit is subjective and speculation, but those are my humble opinions on what I think is going to happen. I think it's more for control and funding more than anything. And the government should actually fear its people. They should take V for Vendetta, that film, very seriously. Because what was it that was indicative towards V going towards wanting the people to revolt against the government? War, terror, disease, a myriad of problems conspiring to corrupt our reason and rob us of our common sense. And then he goes on to say, fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turn to the now, well in this case, the now Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He promised you freedom, he promised you sanity, and in return all he asks from you is your silent, obedient consent. And look where it's gotten us. 14 days to flatten the curve, by the way. And we're in, what is it, day 619, 620, 621, something like that? And they still haven't flattened the curve for Poison XIX. You really have fucked up on that one, Boris Johnson. But Dominic Raab should be the one that we should point out here, because as I said before, they have not ruled out forced medical treatments. And bear in mind as well, I know I mentioned that Austria brought it in February 22, or going to bring it in 22, sorry. But Britain's technically already done it, if we were to actually get serious on this. What was it last year? Clap for the heroes. And now it's sack the heroes if you haven't had a jab. Let that sink in. No jab, no job. That was what they said. These people, 40,000 people in the NHS or care homes, all dismissed on the pretense they hadn't had a shot of the antidote. Forced medical treatment. Given they chose not to have it, but the bottom line is because they chose not to have it, they didn't have a job anymore. If that does not tell you the situation we are in right now with this country, nothing ever will. Before long, it won't just be care homes or hospitals that require you to have a shot of the antidote. It'll become supermarkets, it'll become warehouses, it'll become butcher stores, it'll become administration jobs, like I'm working. It'll be any job. They will bring this in over time, slowly. And they will basically force everyone to have a jab. They will force every single person eventually to have a shot of the antidote. Hell, Boris Johnson even brought in the army to help support the rollout of the Greek variant of Poison XIX, of course. This is literally tyranny that's going on in the UK. And people need to understand that. Because we are in a situation where if we don't wake up, then the fate of everyone in the United Kingdom is that we'll be slaves to a corrupt establishment. And as John F. Kennedy said, when you make peaceful resolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. As I said in regards to the V for Vendetta film, I'm not calling for anybody to hack the media outlet. I'm not calling for violence or terrorism. But at this point, it's coming. At this point, someone's going to do it. Probably won't be me. Probably don't have the fitness for it. Anyway, it won't be me. It probably won't be me. It will probably be somebody else who has had enough of the British establishment constantly lying to the British people, the media lying to the people, and now the army being brought in to give us the shots of the antidote. It's really all you need to know, quite frankly, regarding this variant. Highly infectious, but mild symptoms. For a virus that has been proven to not be as lethal as cancer at the very least. And it's actually been shown in governmental reports that there actually seems to be more spread of Poison XIX in those that have had the shots of the antidote versus those that haven't. Though Politico has recently had his videos removed for medical misinformation, even though these are government fucking reports. And it actually proved the media were lying about this. So if this doesn't tell you about the YouTube censorship, nothing ever will. The fact that somebody who does his research, Politico, who comes out and gives facts as they are, as he sees it, no bullshit, no nonsense against the establishment and this current narrative, and he gets censored. That should tell you all you need to know about YouTube. But there are more and more platforms that people are going to that are more center/right wing. That people are going to for all their information. More and more people are disregarding YouTube when it comes down to getting factual information. More and more people are moving towards other platforms so that they can be clued in of what's really going on, not what the government and the fake news media wants us to know. So I hope you remember that, YouTube, because your fucking days are numbered. It won't be long before the only people left on that place are people who want to enjoy music and, of course, left-wing sheeple. But I think I've made my point pretty clear in both of those issues. A revolution is coming, and we need to be ready for it. The government is not going to conform. The government is going to continue to push this shit until we are all subjugated, suppressed, and silenced. It is up to us, the British people, to take back our country from these treacherous politicians, treacherous media, and crooked police. Because if we don't take our country back from these people, we will be buried in the dustbin of history as people who failed to save their country. My name's Dabima, also known as Abatha X, and I am, as always, very bad news for the Poison XIX narrative. Mr. Donahad McCarthy, who thinks these 9 insular wankers, these terrorists, are heroes and not terrorists, but they are terrorists, that's the bottom line. the fake news media, our corrupt establishment, and of course the crooked police that operate in our country. And any army man who wants to be complicit in spreading poison XIX and the shot of the antidote. Because we do not want it, we do not need it. Natural immunity would have protected us so much better than what we have now, where we're being forced to do things for the establishment. Governments should fear their people, not people fear their governments. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.